Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. I am Harikini Tsangari, and I am a professor at the University of Nicosia. I am a faculty of the School of Business. My area of specialization is statistics. So I teach statistics to undergraduate students of the School of Business, those that study accounting, economics, and finance. And I also teach statistics to MBA students, especially those that specialize in finance. So today I'm going to give a presentation that has to do with an applied topic. Statistics can be theoretical or applied in many different fields. My research work involves applied topics either in health sciences or different areas of business. So today our topic, as you have already seen, is going to be breaking the glass ceiling, gender pay gap and stereotypes. Does this remind you of anyone that you know? Well, this could be you if you are a working woman. It could be your sister, your friend, your wife, someone you know. Yes, women have multiple roles and they do multiple tasks every day. We know that women are increasingly joining the workforce in the last few decades. But how far can women go in their multiple roles as employees, mothers, and wives? So in my title, I have the word glass ceiling. What is the glass ceiling? This is a metaphor that is used to represent an invisible barrier that prohibits a minority from rising beyond a certain level in a hierarchy. The minority that we are talking about today is women, working women. Yes, working women are faced with what we call the glass ceiling. This means that they are prevented from advancing towards the top, from receiving promotion, especially to the executive rankings within their corporation. So we would like to break the glass ceiling. We understand that the glass ceiling is a subtle but damaging form of discrimination. Women cannot attain the opportunities they see despite their suitability and best efforts. So let's talk about the gender pay gap. First, let's talk about Europe. We have information from Eurostat that says that despite EU legislation on equal pay, women earn around 16% less than men. What does this mean in practice? Well, it means that for every 100 euro that a man takes, a woman that has the same qualifications would get 84 euros. Actually, if you do the math, this basically means that men would get around 2 months more every year. So we could say that women are not paid for the last 2 months of the year compared to men. So this also applies to female managers. In spite of pressures and legal changes, female managers earn a fraction of what their male counterparts earn. Let's take it to the global level. I will talk about what is called the Global Gender Gap Index. This is a measure that can track a country's progress over time. This can be found in the Global Gender Gap Report that is announced every year by the World Economic Forum. The good news that we see in this index is that the gender gap is closing. However, the bad news is that no country has fully closed it yet. And we could say that the progress towards parity is actually very slow. So how is this index measured? Well, it is adjusted for education, for qualifications, using a specific methodology. So this means that we compare a man and a woman that have the same level of education, the same qualifications, and we see that on average the man earns more than a woman worldwide. Let's look at the rankings of the Global Gender Gap Index in 2020. The top 5 countries in closing this gap are Iceland, Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Nicaragua. So, for example, Iceland has closed 87.7% of the gender gap. Well, we see that the Nordic countries are usually at the top of rankings like this. They have very good systems. For example, in Iceland, there are laws that specifically make employers show that they do pay equally a man and a woman. Otherwise, they have to pay fines. Greece, as we can see, out of 153 countries that we have in this index, is number 84. It has closed around 70% of the gender gap. And Cyprus is at number 91. It has closed around 69% of the gender gap. Actually, Cyprus is one position up in relation to last year. It has closed around 0.008 of the gap compared to last year. The last country is Yemen, which has closed around 49% of the gap. I want to show you another table. This table, taken again from the same report, shows the educational attainment in 2020, which means that we see whether there are equal opportunities in terms of education for men and women worldwide. What we see here, you see that there is a score of 1 for the first 35 countries. This means that 35 countries have fully closed the educational attainment gap, which is very good. What does this mean? It means that worldwide, for many countries, women have exactly the same opportunities for educational attainment as men. Cyprus is number 48 worldwide, closing almost 100% of the educational gap, 99.8%. Greece is number 69, closing 99.3% of the gap, and the last country is Chad, closing 58.9%. So in general, we can see that although women are equally educated as men, the gender pay gap still exists. Breaking the glass ceiling. Well, many women have successfully broken the glass ceiling. However, the rate of progress can be characterized as slow and uneven. The number gaining access into senior managerial executive positions is still relatively small. We can see that even if a lot of women have managerial positions, female managers occupy mostly the middle and lower ranks in the managerial team, or they would carry out the same job description as men, but with lower titles. We can also say that women in high-level managerial positions are often trapped in what we call glass walls. For example, they are being limited to areas less central or strategic to the organization. Women face a lot of barriers. Let's see. Well, many qualities of a successful manager have been linked with masculinity. Qualities such as ambition, objectivity, authoritative manner. These barriers are usually associated with negative gender stereotypes. We find a lot of these stereotypes in literature. For example, it is believed that women are less self-confident. They are more emotional. They would take negative feedback personally rather than professionally. They are less emotionally stable. They are less analytical, less reliable. They lack aggressiveness, and they have poorer leadership abilities compared to male managers. All these stereotypes create the barriers to women attaining managerial positions. There are also a lot of stereotypes regarding women's work-life balance. For example, employers might assume that women are not going to be able to devote their full time and energy to work because of family responsibilities. Well, as a consequence of this stereotype, women are not given as many opportunities as men to do the more demanding, responsible jobs which would advance their careers. Another stereotype regarding work-life balance: women are likely to place family demands above work. They have children to worry about. Thus, they lose time for and interest in their jobs. Women that become pregnant are also afraid of their employers' and peers' view of their maternity leave. For example, women are worried about how to convince their peers and employers that they will return to work after giving birth and that their productivity will be the same as before their pregnancy. On the other hand, there are also women that actually put career above family, because they consider, for example, that a baby will delay their career goals. So we can see that family appears as a difficulty regarding promotion to management positions. Another stereotype is that it is easier for women to make harder decisions compared to men, and many believe that there is a lack of female sensitivity in the working environment. So this has been an interesting topic for me. I have done a lot of research on this topic. I can give you some more evidence from literature. In different articles, we have seen employees who report more control over their schedules. They have less work-family conflict this way. Or women who perceive positive feedback from their employers regarding maternity leave, and they face supportive work-family cultures in their organizations. They are more committed to their organizations. So positive feedback is associated with higher commitment. We can also see that in countries with lack of policies for childcare, women are more involved in the house, while women with full-time jobs and high salaries give more attention to their careers than their household. A balance is difficult to find in those cases. In one of my studies, I have examined work-family balance in Cyprus. In a sample of 54 young mothers, Cypriot women who had given birth in the previous 3 years, I had found some interesting results that I'm going to present. One of the most interesting results was that young mothers who had higher salaries returned to work earlier. They didn't take as many weeks after labor. So this shows that women that are in higher positions, they are in managerial positions, they are more career oriented, they are responsible, and they would like to work in the same way after giving birth. Some more interesting results. In a question whether there was a change of job tasks during their pregnancy, 87% of women said no. In a question whether their transition from home to work after giving birth, whether it was easy or not, 75% said that it was very easy or easy. In another question regarding there was a responsibility change or a task change after labor, 70% said no, and of those 30% that said yes, there was a change of tasks, they said that they didn't actually request it. 17% of those did not request such a change. So from these results, we can see that women have the capabilities, they can have work-family balance, of course, if they have the right support. So additional findings of my study with the same sample of new mothers showed that there was actually a work-family conflict if there was no support between spouses, if they didn't have flexible work schedules, and if they didn't have daycare facilities easily. We can see that in many cases, the working environment was not suitable for new mothers. They had a minimum of arrangements and facilities, for example, during breastfeeding phase. So let's consider a little bit more women managers in Cyprus. First, we have to say that the legislative framework for gender equality is in harmonization with EU directives in Cyprus after the EU accession, which happened in May 2004. In the Global Gender Gap Index that I showed you before, we could see that Cyprus had a rather low position. It was number 91 out of 153 countries. However, it's still slightly higher than the global weighted average. However, some very discouraging information that we can find in Eurostat in 2020, it showed that in Cyprus, we are the last in proportion of women in managerial occupations in 2018. We are the last in proportion of female board members in the largest publicly listed companies in 2019. We are below EU average in terms of the proportion of female senior executives in the largest publicly listed companies. So this is not good news. I have done some studies regarding this issue, especially to examine what kind of barriers Cypriot women face. In a study that I performed with a sample of 155 employees, both men and women, to see different opinions of men and women, when I asked about the perceived barriers for Cypriot women that prohibit them from attaining managerial positions, number one barrier is home and family obligations, with 65.6% of respondents to report that this is one barrier that they perceive to exist. Number two, social and cultural obstacles, with 55.8%. Number 3, psychological barriers, for example, lack of self-confidence or ambition. I have this in a yellow color and with an asterisk because this was a statement where we had significant differences between men and women, where male respondents believed stronger than females that women face psychological barriers like lack of self-confidence or ambition. So this is related to the stereotypes that we mentioned before. Number 4 barrier is being a minority in a mainly male environment. Number 5, societal norms and moral values. For example, people do not know their role. Number 6, men's negative attitude, sexism, disrespect, prejudices, jealousy. So these are the top 5 perceived barriers as given in the study. Now, top challenges that female managers face. So when women do have a managerial position, what challenges do they face? Number 1 appear to be again work-family conflict, with 50.6% of respondents believing this. Number 2, negative gender stereotypes in the workplace. Number 3, social and cultural obstacles. Number 4, psychological barriers like lack of self-confidence or ambition. Number 5, being a minority in a mainly male environment. And number 6, men's negative attitude like disrespect towards female managers or jealousy. In this table, we see some additional information. We see that in these 4 sentences, there were differences in the opinions between male respondents and female respondents. For example, women believed stronger that female managers have their work judged more critically compared to male managers. So although we can see that most of the respondents agreed that indeed female managers have their work judged more critically, there were differences, significant differences, where females believed this more. Similarly, women respondents of the study believed that women managers have to perform much better than male managers in order to succeed. Also, they believed that compared to male managers, female managers must continually prove themselves. So we can see that women in managerial positions do face some difficulties in relation to their male counterparts. Finally, we have differences in opinions between male and female respondents of the study, where males believed stronger that men and women are provided with equal career opportunities in their companies. Although most of the respondents do agree that men and women were provided with equal career opportunities in their own companies, males believed that stronger than women. So, what is the road to breaking the glass ceiling that appears to exist? First of all, we can see that the magnitude of national gender gaps is the combined result of various socioeconomic, policy, and cultural variables. This means that closing the gap is connected to the framework of national policies, and thus governments have a leading role to play with specific policies that they state for their own countries. Employers and governments should provide family responsive benefits and ensure that their cultures support work-family balance. We could see that women that face positive feedback and work-family balance in their own organizations, they are more committed to their organization. So if they get different motivation from employers and from governments, then this would be a win-win situation. Female managers or women employees in general would be able to perform the way that they should. And on the other hand, organizations would get employees that are committed and satisfied in their organization. What could be these motives? For example, flexible schedule where necessary. Public transportation. I'm talking about Cyprus. Well, Cyprus especially doesn't have a very good public transportation. This could be of enormous help regarding the schedule of women. On-site at workplace child-care facilities. This is very common in Europe and in the United States, that companies have on-site child-care facilities. So women can take their children, leave them at these facilities, do their work, and then go home together with their child. This is something that in Cyprus we do not have a lot. Convenient school hours. This conflict of school hours in relation to the schedule of organizations is sometimes a problem, again, for women who usually have to take their children to school. And finally, work from home. Work from home when necessary, if necessary, is again something that is very common in European countries and in the United States. I think that because of the COVID-19 measures that we have nowadays, this work from home is something that has become more familiar also for Cyprus, and we can see that it can become effective if it is necessary. Of course, we could see that there are a lot of gender stereotypes. Well, gender differences in perceptions and stereotypes are not easy to eliminate. They have been shown to exist among various ages. It is quite alarming that we can see in different articles that these stereotypes are believed also by young generations, university students, even students that study business, which will later work or create their own companies, in addition to older employees. So these stereotypes are not very easy to eliminate. They could be, however, the key to the effectiveness of any proposed strategy for overcoming work-family conflicts and for the discrimination against female employees or managers. We can conclude that equal opportunities in pay and promotion based on performance of employees and not on gender can help women succeed in any career of their choice and attain well-deserved top managerial positions. So, thank you for your attention. I hope that you have enjoyed this seminar. Thank you for being here with me. You can, of course, find my contact information, or if you would like any follow-up, any references related to what I have presented, you can find this contact information at the University of Nicosia website. I would be happy to get your feedback. And hopefully we can also meet in person at the University of Nicosia. Thank you very much for being here with me.